Where'd all the snow go? Well, as I've been talking about the last couple of days, we weren't really going to have a big chance of having a lot of winter precipitation anyway. We knew it was going to get cold, and it's definitely what it's done. Temperature right now at my house is 12.2 degrees, so that is very unusual for this time of year, really any time during the wintertime, but especially being this cold. Probably going to drop maybe down into the single digits tonight. We'll talk way more about that in a second. Welcome, those of y'all who are joining me on this late edition of the snowy, quote unquote, weather forecast. Not much of that. Although some of us are seeing snow right now. I definitely want to talk about that. I want to talk about expectations for tonight, the overnight hours, and tomorrow. And then even as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, what we can expect. And so it's not been from a winter weather standpoint, had been much of anything, much to do about nothing. Now, again, I don't think it's quite over yet. I think we may see some winter weather in our area. We're seeing some of that right now. We'll show that here in just a second. But it was never really expected to be a big winter weather event. It was expected to be cold, and it's definitely been that. It's probably been a little colder than even we thought. So with that, let's go to the radar, because this is probably the most interesting thing we've seen in a while. And so we have seen lake effect snow. So we all think about lake effect snow for the Great Lakes, and Buffalo right now is dealing with that. That's why they postponed the Pittsburgh Buffalo game to tomorrow. If you're watching Jeff Balderson, go Steelers! Hope your Steelers did way better than my Cowboys did today. But you can see on these last couple radar frames. Matter of fact, I'll stop. You see that kind of that bright blue at the end. We'll just go ahead and stop that. So it's really kind of cool because it's kind of hard to see, but you have, if I can get my drawing tool to work here, this is Lake Louisville right here. And so we have these northeast winds that are blowing across the lake. And then, of course, the lake water, relatively speaking, is warmer than the 12-degree temperature. Lake water is certainly not that cold. It would be frozen. So we have this lift in the atmosphere already, not only in the lowest levels. So you get this lift, and this wind blows over this warmer water, relatively speaking, and then it enhances that lift, and so you get these snow showers, if you will, that are enhanced, and they're right there. So it's something that you definitely want to, if you're in Denton, if you're in Coppell, if you're in the mid cities area, then you could definitely see some snow. And as a matter of fact, you probably see some social media reports of it snowing in those areas right now. So they're the lucky ones. Now, if you put this in motion again, there's not really, and I'll zoom out a little bit, there's not really a lot of west-east movement, although you do see some returns, kind of in this area, kind of stationary. And then when we go through these frames again, you see some stuff off in the northeast Texas. And they are dealing with much more quote unquote intense snow than we are here in the Metroplex. And so it's, yes, it's always a little disappointing when you don't get much of anything, especially when it's this cold. When I was a kid, it always felt like a waste, that you get this cold, and doesn't get this cold very often, but you don't get any precipitation out of it. And although, like I said, I think if we are going to get something, then it's going to be overnight, and then come 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, it's all gonna be done, whatever happens. So let's kind of show that graphically. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I don't want to start with this slide. Go back one here, a couple. Okay, so this is the latest forecast. It really is not a lot different than it has been the last couple of days. We were always expecting the biggest snow to be in northeast Texas, and that hasn't really changed. Although I think, to be fair, I think we've seen a lot more snow in the Metroplex, the snow, as opposed to sleet and freezing rain. We thought we were going to see, or freezing drizzle. We thought we were going to see a little bit more of that. Thankfully, we haven't seen a whole lot of that, because that would have really messed up the roads. Although, if you're in Denton, especially these lake effect snows, don't get to say that very often. Then yeah, the wind's blowing a lot of that snow around. So I don't think it's going to be a big travel issue. The water ratio for this snow is not that great, so it's not this big, wet, flaky snow or anything like that. It's more of a dry snow. So that's kind of what we see. So if again, the further east you are, the better chance further east and southeast really, the better chance you have for more icy type situations. I know there's been some accidents reported on I-20 toward the Longview area. So again, kind of in that orange area, Palestine and that area, definitely wouldn't be surprised to see more icing problems down there. So not a whole lot of that here, thankfully. I think in the morning, if you do have to get out tomorrow morning, I think you're going to see slick spots, especially when you're in these lake effect enhanced snow areas. Even those areas, because the wind's blowing still pretty good, so I don't think you're going to see a lot of that, but you definitely could see some impacts from that. Okay, so timing overall, this goes through most of the cities in the Fort Worth Weather Office area of responsibility. So, Bowie being Northwest, Sherman, Paris, DFW, Palestine. So, as you can see, DFW is second to last. Freezing rain, sleet, probably really still more snow now, really. From now until about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, then we'll be done with it. We'll be done with the cold. Probably won't be done with the clouds, but we'll definitely be done with the precipitation, although I still don't anticipate it being that heavy. Although this is Texas, this is winter, and I'm not saying we're all going to wake up to a bunch of white, but I wouldn't be surprised if if we did, because this is crazy Texas weather. But I'm not really expecting that. But no matter what it does, this disturbance is going to move overhead overnight. It's going to be out of here by 9 o'clock. Okay, so the other big story is the wind and the cold. So we do have a wind chill advisory in effect for the Metroplex North tonight and tomorrow, and then for all of North Texas, Monday night and Tuesday morning. So these are wind chills that range anywhere from -5 below to 10 above. And so it's something that, it's definitely going to be that. I don't know if I can get mine to pull up here real quick. What's the wind chill at my house right now? Oh, that's not the one I want. Go back here. Yeah, temperature is 12 and wind chill is 0 at my house. So, yeah, it's cold. And the wind chill is really cold. And even really dangerously cold. So, you definitely, not that anybody is, but you definitely don't want to be outside with exposed skin for very long. Okay, so the other couple of graphics I wanted to show you is the risk of ice accumulation. We kind of talked about that down in southeast Texas. So you can kind of tell, and by the way, the yellow, if you see the threat risk over on the left, the threat risk is limited. So it's not something that you see yellow and it's like, oh my gosh, everything's iced over. That's not what it's saying there. It's just saying that basically in a limited threat risk, it's going to be spotty. And as you can tell, that's mainly east of I-45, US 75, and in East Texas. So that's limited. Now, the one we always like to think about, the snow risk, it is not great. It's even limited, and of course, you don't even see that. And that's actually tomorrow night. I think I got that. Yeah, this is, no, that's ice tonight. I guess my slides got mixed up here, but that's okay. That's the risk of ice accumulation. So that's pretty much all of North Texas tonight, but again, limited. This is the one I was looking for. Okay, so snow sleet risk. Again, limited threat risk, but pretty much all in North Texas except for areas west. But again, that is not something to hang your hat on in the sense that, hey, it's going to snow a lot. But there's definitely a chance, that's for sure. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is this hard freeze warning. And it's the purple in Dallas, Fort Worth, and areas north and northwest. So a hard freeze warning means temperatures expected to get down to 10 or below. And I think you're definitely going to have that possibility in the Metroplex and a sure certainty north and northwest of Dallas Fort Worth. So I'm assuming you already have, but if you have not protected your pipes and everything, it's probably too late. But hopefully you did that before this set in. But hard freeze warning in effect until tomorrow morning. May see that extended for Tuesday morning, but not sure yet. All right, so let's actually. And then, okay, so Tuesday morning, I want to talk about that real quick. That's when most of us will go back to school and work. It's going to be really, really cold. Right now, and we haven't talked a whole lot about this, but there is a secondary surge of Arctic air that's going to come in tomorrow afternoon, and it's going to be cold anyway, but it's just going to pick up the wind again. And that's why we'll have that wind chill advisory in effect Monday night and Tuesday for all of North Texas. With temperatures in the teens, that's going to drop the wind chill below zero Tuesday morning. And assuming we don't get a lot of ice and snow accumulations tonight and tomorrow morning, then it's just going to be really, really cold Tuesday morning when everybody goes back to work and school. And then it's just temperatures going to be close to the predicted low right now for Dallas is 13. Kind of hard to point out, but you can see there's a -2 for wind chill. And so you would see, I think you would definitely see wind chills below zero when you're heading off to school and work on Tuesday. Again, assuming we don't get more precipitation than we're currently forecast. So again, there's a summary of what we can expect overnight. Like I said, the yellow being mixed precipitation, the orange being more ice, and then of course the gray being snow. I really think we'll see a lot more snow, quote unquote, than we do mixed precipitation, just the way it's kind of shaping up. And if you're just joining us, then you can see lake effect snow. And well, let me put the right slide on there. So you can see this enhanced lake effect snow. It's showing up in the bright blue. It's moving north, east to south and west. And I'll zoom in here. Well, let's do this. And as I was saying earlier, if you're just joining us, so Lake Lewisville, kind of hard to see probably, but right there. And so the wind's going over the lake, and the air is condensing and falling, and then you get snow. So if you're if you're downwind of a lake tonight, then you'll probably have a better chance of seeing the snow. Now, of course, the lakes we think about in this neck of the woods, Lake Lavon and Lake Ray Hubbard, not much going on. So as this lift generally, moves this direction. In fact, that arrow is horrible. You might start to see some of that later. It's not anything to get excited about, so don't get that impression. But it's just something that I didn't really think that our big weather system, weather maker, would be lake effect snow for DFW. That's a first. Although we've had that before, probably not to this extent though. All right, so that's kind of what we can expect tonight, overnight, tomorrow, and Tuesday. Let me check the chat here. Let's see, just Scott Ullman, can we fire up that good old Saxe area cap and just have all this split and move around us, please? Thanks in advance. Yeah, probably not. Although I think from an intensity standpoint, precipitation wise, I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about. Famous last words, I'm sure. It's just something that, like I said, going back to the last couple of days, it wasn't really expected to be a terribly heavy event anyway. Now, if you've seen some pictures of the snow in Arkansas, Nashville's getting hit tonight. That was just the story in Oklahoma City a little bit earlier today. If you remember last time I did the live studio broadcast, most of those models were showing the heaviest snow up in Oklahoma and areas east and northeast of there, and that's pretty much exactly what happened. The models did a pretty good job in showing where that storm track was going to be. Obviously, if it had been a little further south, then it would have been better for us. Just wasn't in the cars. Most of us kind of saw that. I think that's why you saw winter weather advisory for Dallas-Fort Worth as opposed to any kind of winter storm warnings, because the amounts were not expected to be that much, and so far it's turned out that's the case. So it's again, overall, as I always talk about, it's hard to predict winter weather, but for the most part, at least for our area, the models got it right. I think even the models probably overdid it, quote unquote, a little bit, which is kind of ironic because it didn't have a lot they didn't predict a lot anyway, but haven't seen much at all, again, except for these lake effect snows. And let's put this in motion one more time. I don't see any other comments in the chat, so not assuming my chat's working. So you can kind of see the lake effect snows it's kind of cool saying that because I don't think I'll be saying that too much more in the future. But I mean, I probably will again because, like I said, this is not the first time that's happened, but certainly to this extent. So let's see. I don't know. I'm going to go back to see if I could. I'm going to see if I can find a picture here real quick. Don't know if I have any good pictures of the snow or not. Well, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, that's Denton County Courthouse, so looks very pretty. Don't think I have anything else. I think that's the only one I found, so kind of pretty. All right, so to wrap things up for this update, go back to my weather station here. So the current temperature is 12 degrees, 12.2 to be exact. That's the lowest so far today. Wind chill -1. That's pretty common around the area. And so you're going to see this type of weather certainly tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit warmer tomorrow. And the bottom line is this. So tonight we're going to have temperatures in the lower teens. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of us from I-20 north gets into the single digits tonight, which of course would make the wind chill minus in the minus range, below zero for sure. Then tomorrow, if it does, or overnight, if it does anything, it'll be light, but not to say you can't see some white when you wake up in the morning. And then we'll gradually, quote unquote, warm up a little bit, probably get into the 20s tomorrow, maybe lower 20s. And then, like I said, we are having a secondary surge, Arctic surge coming in tomorrow afternoon, early tomorrow evening. Basic thing that's going to do is pick up the wind and make it feel even colder for Tuesday morning. Temperatures in the lower teens again, maybe upper single digits, but wind chills below zero again Tuesday morning when you go back to work and school. So bottom line is going to be cold, really, really cold. And it's going to warm up a little bit after that. Wednesday, we'll get above freezing. Thursday, we'll probably get into the 50s. And then we'll have another cold front come through sometime late Thursday, Friday right now. Probably not as cold, well, most likely not as cold as this Arctic outbreak, but still going to be cold. Temperatures going to be back in the 20s for lows. Not a big, don't really see any rain with this next, or moisture, I should say, with this next Arctic front toward the end of the week. But bears watching, it's wintertime. And I think, Scott, friend of yours and didn't notice it's snowing there. Yes, they are the beneficiaries of lake effect snow. That is for sure. And then the week after next, if you believe the long range models, it's going to be warm. No, not crazy warm, but probably in the 60s. And then if you look at the really long range models, we might have probably not exactly like this, but probably have another cold snap repeat toward the end of the month, first part of February. But what else is new there? So, but that's a long way away. So we're probably going to have this long-term roller coaster to where we get pretty doggone cold, maybe not this cold, then warm up, get cold again. And then we'll go through that several iterations until spring. And then we'll have another weather hazard to worry about, which is thunderstorms, but that's a ways away. So, all right. So I don't see anything else in the chat. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you are just tuning in, I'll keep this video up on my feed. You can go back and watch the parts you want to watch. Like I said, just be warm, stay safe. And this cold snap will be here for a little while, certainly till Wednesday around noon. It'll get above freezing. So in the meantime, just take it easy, especially if you go somewhere tomorrow morning, just make sure that it didn't do anything at your house overnight, and just be careful on the roads if you have to get out, as always. You're welcome, Jeff. Glad to see you, my friend. All right. Well, as always, I'm watching the weather, so you don't have to. Hope everyone has a great rest of your work week coming up. Be safe, stay warm, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in.